first meeting for the Bay of Islands Community Board for 2024 on this day, 15th of February. I will ask Talavemba to open us for the karakia.
Ngā mihi o te rā ki te whānau e hui hui nei, kia tau te rangmari, kia papua tātou me ngā mea, e whakapono ana tātou aumi e hui e taiki.
Just before we commence into our formalities, I'd just like everybody to introduce themselves so you know who is in the room today. We have our board members and also some staff in the room. So we'll start with you, Amy.
Morena, Amy, I'm one of the community board members.
Kia ora, Tyler Bamber, I'm the Wapapa representative of the community board.
Yes, good morning. I'm Bruce Mills, I represent the Islands.
Good morning, Lane here, representing Kerry subdivision.
Good morning, everybody. Belinda Ward, I represent the Paihi Waitangi subdivision.
Morena, I'm Freya and I'm one of the democracy advisors. I'll be doing the minutes for today's meeting.
Morena, I'm Ellie, I'm also a democracy advisor here.
Atamarie, I'm Jane Hindle, I represent Russell Kororaraka and also Oprah too.
Morena, Carol Hammond, I am the community board coordinator.
And Kia ora, I'm Catherine advisor.
Staff here?
Yes, Morena, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, Lisa and I'm Maria.
Thank you, everybody. We also have Councillor Anne Call, who sits on the community board with us. She's just popped out of the moment, but we can see her come back in soon. So moving on, we do have, I haven't received formal apologies from Roddy Hapatipihima, but he may not be able to come today, so just acknowledging that. I will move that somebody would like to see it. Thank you, Tyler. And any conflicts of interest in our agenda today? Go to our speakers for the day for our funding applications. And first up, we actually have Charlotte Nightingale. Charlotte, we have you there online. Charlotte's speaking to us for the application for Glass Ceiling Collective in regards to Spark Live Show, which is on page 67 of our agenda. So welcome, Charlotte. We've got 5 minutes to speak to us, and that includes question and answer time. So it's up to you if you would like to have a bit of time for us to ask questions in relation to your application. So it's all yours.
Morena. I'll tell you a little bit about Spark Live, and then I'm willing to take some questions as well. Spark Live is a multi-sensory theatre production which is made for people with profound and multiple learning disabilities. It's a piece of theatre which is like a play, and at various moments in the play we break out into multisensory exploration, sort of one-on-one with audience members, so that a person with a profound disability is able to connect with the story in their own way. So we use things to touch, taste, smell, see and hear, so that there are multiple ways that somebody could connect with the story, particularly if they have things like sensory needs, or we use New Zealand Sign Language for the deaf community. So it was made last year, and we had a sellout season in Tamaki Makaurau, and it sold out within 3 days. So we know that there is a community of profoundly disabled people across Aotearoa that really want this kind of work. There is limited work for this community, and often people with profound disabilities are in sort of supported living, care homes, things like that. So having something specifically for that community is really awesome and desperately needed. This work is made by and for disabled people. Myself, I'm neurodivergent. We have people, the lead character is played by a young actress called Lily May Ivor Oakley, who has Down syndrome. We have another actor with cerebral palsy in the show as well. So it really is an inclusive cast. And so people who watch this show can see themselves in it, which is really, really rare for theatre. We work in Northland predominantly in Whangaroa, and we work, our programmes in Whangaroa are absolutely full, and were full from the start. So we know that there's a huge need for this kind of work in Northland. And so we're taking the show across Northland, including to Kerikeri, to the Turner Centre. So yeah, that's what the show is all about. Yeah, if there's any questions, I would love for you to ask them.
Thanks, Charlotte. No question.
Good morning, Charlotte. How do you get to the disabled community in the Bay of Islands?
So we work with disability networks across Aotearoa, and also this particular production was funded by Arts Access Aotearoa, so it's partly funded by them and Foundation North and Creative New Zealand. We work with places like in supported living, in places like Life Homes, Spectrum Care. We have links with Spectrum Care, in aged care facilities. We have a huge network. As disabled people, we have a huge network of disability communities, so we tap into those parent to parent. We work with quite closely. I mean, when we did our production down here, I literally did no promotion and one email to all our disability networks, and it literally sold out straight away. So we also work with special schools. So predominantly in Auckland, we work with Wilson School and Wilson Home, and Wilson Home has satellites up in Northland. So we work with those kind of communities. But because this community is so underserved, we find that actually we don't really have to do an awful lot of promotion. It's just about going to special schools and talking to Senkos, talking to people like Parent to Parent, Autism New Zealand, places like that, to put the word out, and we sell tickets straight away. On our board is one of we have someone from Autism New Zealand on our board. So yeah, we're very much tapped into the disability community. So as it's our community. So yeah, we never really have any issue getting people to the show. We haven't so far, so I don't expect it to be any different. And we specifically target that community. We know that people with profound disabilities and their whānau often can be separated at events and sometimes don't get the opportunity to enjoy something together. So that is really what this is about, is coming together with friends and whānau and enjoying a piece of theatre that is actually made for that community.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte. Just I'm on a disability committee here in North, and unless I've missed something, I haven't seen it come across.
You probably, it's actually all just going out this week. So the Northland, I've literally just got the tickets up, so it should be coming across your desk probably within the next few days, because our administrator's on it at the moment.
Thank you.
One more question, because time is up.
Thanks, Charlotte. We'll have a discussion a bit later in the meeting and make our decision then. So you get on with your day, or you're welcome to stay on and then live stream.
Thank you so much. We're actually going straight into rehearsal. All my actors have just turned up. I'm going to have to love you and leave you, but thank you very much for listening. And yeah, please do get in contact if you've got any questions or queries. Yeah, really keen to hear from you. Awesome. Ka kite anō. Bye.
Right. Next up, we have Claire and Jamie for Kidder New Zealand in regard to the Female Sport Arts exhibition, which is on page 76 of our agenda. Welcome back.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah. So, I think just to recap, we presented in December and we got some feedback from the board to stage projects that we're proposing. And the first stage is that making space for artistic movement exhibition that we would hold at Proctor Library. Just a little bit about what this exhibition is hoping to achieve and who the people are that will be who the participants are. So it's a story visualising inclusive spaces that galvanise and uplift our youth. In our community, as is typical for New Zealand, popular male-dominated sports are well funded with better access to facilities. For over 50 years, girls participating in the arena of artistic sports in this area have been underfunded and underrepresented, struggling to find suitable facilities to pursue their sport. So these premises and how the girls feel about them are represented in some of the photographs, where they participated in a design workshop to brainstorm what their perfect shared facilities would look like. On top of this, the public play spaces for older kids and teenagers mostly consist of green spaces that support sports and recreational activities with a higher participation of boys and teenagers. So creating spaces and facilities that provide opportunities for artistic movement, spaces where girls dominate, can help close the gap. A lack of public play spaces for girls aged 10 years and older is shortening their childhood. So to encourage and observe older girls playing, we actually took a group of teenage girls to the Domain playground at 7 and free from the usual hubbub, they embraced the freedom to play, having fun, being themselves, and they proved to us that if they had a space, they would certainly use it. It was actually a real joy, and we've captured that, and we've also captured some special moments of them bringing their artistic movement personas out. I don't want to give too much away, but they were dressed in how they would perform on stage, and so this really gave them the body confidence and, you know, connected them to just play and be the young kids that they are.
I guess from my perspective, it was really important how I photographed and how I portrayed, because they're all at a vulnerable age and they're all shapes and sizes, and we wanted them just to be really comfortable in how they, you know, their bodies as they are, so they don't feel they need to control kinds of things when they walk like that. And the way they play, photographs that we've taken is really portraying their strengths, their athleticism, their flexibility, their friendship. And when they were playing 7 a.m. in the morning, their absolute joy for being able to go out there in this space and just play. It was so wonderful to see teenage girls playing and being joyful. And I think we captured that in the photos. We just really needed to see that if we created this space, it would be a waste, that they really needed it.
Sport New Zealand's research shows that the number one reason why girls and women drop out of sport is body image. It's how they feel about the cause. So we really wanted to bring that into normalising that, and that's what the photographs are aiming to achieve. Some feedback from the board. I think, Lane, it was you talked about getting a real sense from our community, because the research that I brought to you last time was based from overseas in the UK. So I've started this work, and I've actually got some time next month with the high school. But initially with our kids, we asked them some questions. And there were some assumptions that we made that were proven, and then there were others that were positive. So I feel there is space for me to have fun at the domain. Agree. There is an activity I enjoy doing at the domain. Disagree. There's a space for me and my friends to have fun together at the domain. Agree. Now this is where it gets interesting. I feel that I really belong at the domain. Disagree. I feel that other people belong more at the domain than I do. Undecided. I feel like I'm an important part of the design. Disagree. The domain has many activities that I can participate. Disagree. So the good news is there were no strongly disagrees, but you can see we've got something to work with. There's also some really interesting evidence. This I study part-time, and I've submitted this as an academic case study to a Daisy International Dance Conference, and it's been accepted. So this project can also go to Slovenia, and be presented on the world stage, which I think is fantastic. Little kitty. So yeah, happy to take questions now.
Jamie. So unless there's any questions, new questions following on from this presentation, please, Jane.
Thank you for the presentation. My question to you is, how will you measure success in terms of the exhibition? So my understanding is your long-term goal is to get a space in the domain for the girls to be comfortable. How will you measure the exhibition in terms of its success towards that?
That is a super question. Thank you for asking. We have got an interactive part of the exhibition. So obviously we'll measure number of participants on the launch. We've got a launch, we've got a pre-launch with just the gymnasts that have done it. Then we've got a launch. We've also got it running from 6th to the 19th of March, and we'll get a gauge of some of the footfall by we've got we're designing, getting all the photographs on a survey that we're giving to people that come to the exhibition, and we're actually asking the community questions about the photographs and asking them to select their best in categories. And then what we plan to do with that is those photographs that the community select we'll take to Slovenia.
Yeah, it's also a way to raise community's awareness of shortfalls for the young girls. And that's, if people are more aware of that, that's a success in itself.
Yeah, I guess
hopefully we'll get more support to go to stage 2, which is to create the space for girls.
I guess my question was, how will you know that you've been successful in that? But I love the idea that you've got some interaction going on.
Yeah, and it'll be the numbers that we get back from that. So, we would be aiming for at least 500 kids. That would be an ideal measure. Cool. Next one, so this practical question, like that Proctor Library having a bit of a roof, and there's kids' libraries all in the middle. So where is the exhibition going to go?
Yeah, so it's Creative Northland have an area, so it's going to go both in Creative Northland's area and in the window at the front. Yeah. So the windows effectively draw people in.
Yeah.
So that they're aware that yes, there's an exhibition inside. Come in. This is where you go. So it's just inside the library on the side.
And we're marketing through all our social media channels, the Facebook pages, dance studios. Yeah. It's one thing that's not really to do with your project, but to me, the biggest barrier would be the school uniform and the skirt. Like if you want girls to be more active, that's kind of what I keep thinking. That's certainly one of the barriers, and the colour. So like, people are changing collections. Unbelievably, there's didn't have much else for girls to do. So, yeah, there's lots of, you're right, Amy, there's so many barriers. Yeah.
So let us know when it's all go. We can put it on the community board Facebook page. Just get in touch with Catherine or Kim, and just then we can give you a shout out as well.
Just clarification in closing, are you still pending your funding application from Create New Zealand?
Yeah, that was for the wider project, and they didn't want to support the wider project. So the rest of it will be absorbed through volunteers. And that's pretty much it.
So the total cost of this, just to get, it's 6,066, is that right?
Yeah, that would be. That's still printing.
So the 13,000 is for the overall project.
Yeah.
6,066 is.
But you've got 3,700 for advertising and promotion.
That's time putting together all the material. So the booklet, the program that I talked about, with all the photographs arranged and the narrative and the voting options, printing, so all that design.
It basically will all work.
Yeah, pretty much to do it, to get it done.
And then, if necessary, it's just the material costs because we don't have anything. So that those photographs will be reused elsewhere as well as going to Slovenia. Do you have other opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, the family want to put it on stage. I mean, we're not aiming at selling them or anything, just at the moment. I mean, ideally for me, I'd love them to go to a museum somewhere in the country for a bit. I don't think there's anything like this that's been done before in New Zealand. So, that would be a tippity top. And it's part of International Women's Day as well. The International Women's Day is on the 8th of March. And so we're planning on getting some press here as well as the National Sports Organization.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming back and for clarifying those key questions for us. Do the rest of your day, Right, then moving on, our third speaker, Hayley Kuru. Thank you for your patience. I'll see you there online. Welcome. You're here for Toi Tangata in regard to Te Hautu Manawa Māori whānanga. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
85 of the agenda. Thank you. You've got 5 minutes. When you're ready.
Awesome. Kia ora tātou. My name is Hayley Koroi. My partner and I live in the Hokianga or Mapire. I'm just across the other side. I work for a national Māori public health organisation called Toi Tangata, and we deliver public health initiatives relating to food and movement, kai and korikori tinana specifically. In particular, given that I have genealogical links and also live in the far north, I have a particular interest in ensuring that food-related kaupapa are resourced in this particular area. In 2022, we co-hosted this wānanga that we'll be running in March and April. We ran this wānanga in October at Waikato Marae, which is on the west coast, just before the Waipoua Forest. So yeah, Joe drove up in his van from Wellington. It's a long way, but he has a lot of historical things that he needs to carry in a van with him. He sets a big presentation up in the wharekai as part of the 3-day wānanga to kind of ground everybody. But yeah, he came all the way from Wellington. He's of Tūhoe descent and a chef of 50 years. And he's an expert, probably one of the foremost experts in native foods, the native foods of Aotearoa. Their collection, where they grow, regional variations, how they're cooked and how they're paired with other foods. So throughout the wānanga, Joe's team does the catering for the wānanga and incorporates kai Māori into the food preparations as well. So it's a combination of the 3 days we're kind of preparing for a big, what's called a hakari on day 3, where all of the native foods are collected. They're prepared in harakeke baskets. They're put into a hangi, and then on day 3, everybody has a big kai of hangi, and it's open to the wider public. And throughout they also cook using kai Māori so that people can get a sense of what it might feel like to incorporate native foods into your everyday life. So it's a very intensive and practical 3-day learning environment. And really what we hope is that it's going to spark a curiosity again within marae and within Hokainga and the wider community regarding the possible role of native foods in our everyday lives. And I think more broadly, I think it provides us with a material connection to the environment that maybe will make us think differently as a society about our role as guardians, as kaitiaki, because if our environments aren't in good shape, neither are the foods that we could possibly harvest from them. And so, we'll be hosting this wānanga, which is one of a series of wānanga, at the end of March. The marae has since changed it was going to be at Tengaire, but it's now at Te Patunga Marae. And this is happening in collaboration, again with Te Patunga Marae, as well as some of the local champions from there, Te Runanga o Whangaroa and Healthy Families Far North. So we hope that with all of these connections and other connections that we have throughout the Far North, that it will serve the needs of the community and the aspirations of the community in relation to native foods, but I think food security and food access more broadly. That's all I have for now. Kia ora.
Thanks, Hayley. And we've got time for questions. Bruce.
Sounds very, very interesting. When you talk about, native kai, obviously think of kai moana, but what other foods? I mean, you've got the wild pigs, you've got, that type of thing, wild animals. What other foods are we looking at? I mean, you're obviously going to harvest the bush.
Yes. So Joe, who's from the Ureweras, which is a large forest in the middle of the North Island, a lot of his knowledge is around forest-related Māori foods, native foods. And so it's actually like things like weeds you would never suspect were edible. So some of the food you eat directly, other foods are used to pair with particular proteins, and they may have certain properties like medicinal properties or flavouring properties. And he also shares his wider knowledge around how they connect to different atua and different guardians, and maybe like the historic connections that they might have and why they would pair well together. So there's things like piko piko, if you know what that is, chicken and hen fern. There are things like tohetaka, which is a native dandelion. There's even puriri, which you would never imagine what you could actually eat. You don't eat it directly, you use it to flavour other things. The other cool thing about it is he doesn't use any products that will be wasted. So everything is made from harakeke, and a leaf called rangiora is used as a tinfoil to ensure that the heat circulates within the basket and doesn't escape. There was about, I think last time he harvested over 50 native plants.
So my question is sort of who's invited to come and partake in this, and who's coming along? So we have a priority audience, which is the marae. And the reason it's the marae is because if anyone's going to continue to, I suppose, to ensure that the knowledge is passed on, we think, it's probably going to be the marae. Also, it's probably their obligation to do so anyway.
And so it starts, we have a staggered kind of communications plan in terms of the marae will be the first, then the wider 5-6 marae within the area will be the second, then the far north Islands-Whangaroa region, and we can push those comms through Healthy Families Far North, and then it will be open to the general public. So Joe kind of prefers to have no more than 100 people, but he's kind of comfortable with the 100 person cap because it means he can facilitate, and he has a team of about 5. Yeah.
And then, sorry, just to follow up, would the hope be that those 100 people might then be able to go out and spread the knowledge, like continue educating people?
Yeah, and I think that's the intention of the wider series. So we are also running it, one here in the Hokianga at Umanaya and one in Kaitaia. And in each area, we've partnered with different local groups. So there's Te Pukapu Taiao, which is the Taiao group in Kaitaia, and there's 2 marae there we're working with. And then there's Matua Rereata and Dallas King here at Te Piti Marae, who we're working with. And the intention really is, because we all care so deeply and work in the Kai space already, this is kind of an opening into hopefully what will be an ongoing conversation about native foods and their place in our lives moving forward. And so I suppose the role that we play as supporting organisations is to use this as a way to understand what whānau aspirations actually are around native foods, what would help them to ensure that that knowledge is passed on and expands and continues to grow and develop. So yeah, it's a small part of hopefully what will be an ongoing conversation.
Any questions?
Sharing. You've got 3 locations. I think we are 2 community boards as well to support the backcover.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. That's good.
Thanks, Hayley. And just in closing, sorry, I don't have an equity. I'm not familiar. Where is Te Patanga? The change of venue, where is that?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You just cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Te Patanga, is it? Patanga the Marae? I'm not familiar with the location of that. Where is that now?
That's in Kaiō.
Yeah. And just lastly, in relation to your application with Foundation North, 5,000 is showing as still pending in our information. Were you successful in that? Were you back?
We were successful partially. They did give 12,300, but we're still short by 2,700 to meet the goal of keeping it free of charge.
That's it.
No worries.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time and patience, and sorry you had to wait.
No, that's fine. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Final speaker, which was Jerry Paul for the Gaza fundraising concert, has been withdrawn. So the application's been withdrawn, so that closes the speakers. Unless anybody else. Right, moving on then, we will move on to item 6.1, compilation of the minutes on page 8. I'll move that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of December 2020. True and correct record. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any amendments? No. Oh, sorry, Anne.
Sincere apologies.
Where are you, Anne? You've got an E. You're growing.
Oh, yeah. The resolutions.
Okay. Anything else?
I did that to prove that I read them.
Yes. That's what we like to see. Okay. So I move by myself, seconded by Elaine. All those in support?
Against? So next item is 7.1, the chairperson and members report on page 15. That the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board note the reports from chairperson Belinda Board members Lane Eyre, Tyler Bender and Jane Hindle. Do I have any discussion? Jane and first, second Amy. Take mine as read, unless there's any questions there. Occupiers still there. Which reserve are we referring to?
The ones that was occupied that got resolved.
So at the end of the marae, no,
And then
they
came back again.
have been they've been moved on, and there was a number of people that came back for Waitangi about a week before Waitangi, but it's all been cleared out and cleaned up, and it was left very clean after Waitangi, which I have to say that whole area has been really, really well cleaned up. So there's a few stragglers floating around, but no, they're off the reserve. Moving on, we have Lane. Any questions for Lane?
I was just wondering what you said Alderton continues. What's happening?
I was approached by a group, the residents down there, who had, we had some agreements with council, and staff members would go down. Unfortunately, staff changed, and it seems that they got lost in the shuffle. Kim, would that be a fair comment? And so they're obviously a bit perturbed that the situation hasn't been rectified. That rolls into, it was that triggered my comments on some of the other developments that have reserves, because I was never aware of the reserve development park that then got fenced and then got damaged, and we're responsible for the repairing of said tennis court. So, yeah.
Yeah. So have the health and safety works been done?
Well, I would ask the staff member that was going to do that for us, but unfortunately they're no longer here. My concern, Madam Chair, is that there's a number of fairly astute people involved in that community, and I just don't want to see us end up in some massive problem.
Did you have this number?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
visits.
I've been down a number of times, but we did it.
So you made a note of that. Yeah. Find out who's following up. Yep. Any more questions for Lane? Moving on to Tyler.
Well done on the elected members for that. Looked amazing.
It was awesome.
Fantastic.
It was really good. The panelists that came on and spoke, and just getting everyone together. Yeah.
It's a big project. Well done, Kim, as well.
Inspirational.
And Eric Rush came and spoke.
So I guess on that note, I see that there's a couple of positions available in the young elected members community, and one of them is a community board position.
Me.
I aged out as well.
I don't think some of us qualify. Are you interested in that, Tyler?
Any extra time I can
No,
give it at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought I'd ask. Since you were involved in it, I believe it was quite a success. Yeah, hopefully, I'm not sure if there's anybody in our district who we could get behind in reports from community boards who would want to perhaps we could put it out there that we encourage Kakoi and Te Hiki to
Harmony and True. I think it's specifically community board.
Yeah, Harmony and Trinity.
Madam Chair, my memory is not always perfect, but did we not go through a process at one time that we were going to try and get somebody from the high school to come and sit on a community board?
I'm not sure. This is a community. There's a couple of positions though. One is for a community board member.
So through the chair, we are re-establishing the youth council, and that was one suggestion as part of being on that youth council. You then come and sit at community board meetings. The issue with that is that your meetings happen during the day, so the high school students, obviously they've got to go to high school, if they're a bit older, they may be at university. So a lot of the youth council activities actually happen outside of school hours, but it is something that we can consider because they may not be high school students. It's not a criteria to be on youth council. So.
I just thought that may say problem.
These positions are for elected members, like the community board member.
Which a youth council is not an elected member, the same as
Sorry, take time.
No, that's right. I had forgotten about the representation, but I think it would be an opportunity lost if we didn't get, for the far north, in particular for our district, to encourage support behind another community board member. I'm not sure how much time's involved. I didn't look at the application and see what time's involved in it. But anyway, any more questions?
My colleague feels the pressure. Chair.
I can call on you for the social events and organising, can't I? Right, Jane. Any questions for Jane?
Rubbish Christmas.
Yes, your son refused.
Hello, rubbish Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Very successful.
Very good.
It's the only thing that I sort of was probably the main one today was in your top 5 projects, number 4, you've got Oakwood Fire and Russell Walkway Cycleway. Are you referring to those both as walkway cycleways?
Well, because there's a cycleway bit that's going from Russell to Oakwood, and that bit is going through. Some of the challenges we have is that community and the customers see it as a continuous circuit, and so they get seen as a continuous that comes into your area, and they do cycle.
I'm just asking you that because the Opera to play here cycleway has been discussed, and I'm aware that it doesn't, in the long-term plan discussions, it doesn't actually have a business case for it. So. And Te Hui Bay, are you impressed with service, Te Hui Bay? That is
very silent.
That's a historical issue, and there should be a file on that area, and I suggest you perhaps get Kim or follow that up through legal to see where that's at.
It's sort of gone very quiet.
Yes, we've got an appointed encroachment.
So I was looking into it. It's now being put on hold.
She'd be the person to dig out the information for you. And congratulations on the success of your recycling rubbish initiative. I know it takes a community to make things happen, but it certainly appeared to be a success from talk within the community and yours. So thanks for that great report. We love pictures. Yeah. Any questions for Jane? We'll go back to the beginning of that. Recommendation moved by Jane, seconded by Amy. All those in support of receiving these reports? Yes. Carry. Okay. Now we're on to the Capisco Diamond. Page 31. Recommendation, and then we'll speak to them separately. Approval application from Google Company, pursuant to the council resolution passed on the 30th of June 2022, and B, by implementing the fiscal time and approval application from Party Board for Expresso, pursuant to the council resolution passed on the 30th of June 2022, to assist with the final decision of the company conditions. Do I have a reader? Thank you, Lane. Second that. Lane. I see you there online. Did you want to speak to this, to our discussion?
Hi, Belinda.
Apologies.
Oh, he is here.
Sorry, I was just slightly distracted. Apologies. Are we talking about third wheel?
We just actually put the al fresco dining licences, and we'll take third wheel first. And thank you for the additional information. I also did do a site visit and put additional information on Monday. So if you would like, do you want to speak to this first, Ken?
Yeah, I could give you a quick bit of context. I'm sure the community board are well aware that Third Wheel's been operating for quite some time. The plan that was submitted, unfortunately, was inaccurate in that Third Wheel presented that they were applying for a number of picnic tables. I've not got the plan in front of me, but I think it's 6 picnic tables. You know yourself, Madam Chair, that the operation actually has additional tables, and therefore Tom, the proprietor, has put in a revised plan showing 5 extra small like garden tables that seat 2 people. The location is unusual. The frontage for the cafe is quite small, and the tables extend a long way in that service area. In a conversation with Tom, I asked him the obvious question in terms of how do the neighbouring businesses feel about the fact that you've got tables in front of their premises. He indicated to me that neighbouring businesses were fine with it. It's been operating for quite some time. I've not received any complaints directed my way. So I think that's the context. We've finally got the company to apply in November. He was one of 2 or 3 companies that have been a bit lax in coming forward and making the necessary application. And I think I'll pause there for any other questions you may have.
Thank you. So you've all got the revised plan in front of you. It was circulated this morning. There are quite a number of issues that I would have to point out to you in this application. Firstly, the thoroughfare is actually parked. It's a service lane. It doesn't have vehicles flowing through it, but it does have vehicle access at the southern end of it, which is not shown on either plan. There used to be bollards in that service lane, and I'll draw them on here roughly and show you where they were. And they were removed some time ago, but are in the process of being replaced by the physiotherapist, which is on the end here, who has initiated that. So we don't have any information here from Rodo. This is to enable a vehicle to park here. So you'll see on your plan in there that the service lane is T-shaped, and the Swordfish Club entrance is here, quite a large entrance. It also houses a number of, I don't know, probably about 15 rubbish recycling bins, and it's a big turnaround area, and there's also the service lane of Selwyn Road, and there's also apartments underneath here which access this area. That portion of the service lane where the tables fetch along to is required for servicing the very large, well, all the restaurants, but particularly Greens in the front. You'll be familiar with the Indian homes in the front. They service through that service lane. So hence collapsible new bollars will be built in there. I think the main point, and I'm aware that particular operator is going to also be applying for the Westlow Dine licence, and at present the operator of the applicant, who is actually using the whole service lane virtually for tables and chairs. On my site visit on Monday, there was 12. Most of them were, there was actually 6 along here. There was the 5 big wooden picnic tables that are shown in the photos, and there's actually 3 smaller tables and another bench type with bench seats dotted in between, plus 2 cafe tables here and another wooden bench type one here. So there's 2 cruise ships in. It was extremely busy. I was actually there using the cafe myself, meeting all the meetings, and there was, I was there for just over an hour, and there was a van parked in the entrance of the service lane. That whole time I was seated in the cafe. Also, the minimum footpath width of 1.5 metres was not being adhered to, and I also noticed quite a few strips of fake grass, I don't want to call it green matting, astroturf around the place, and under picnic tables, sort of delineating an outdoor area. So I guess in a nutshell, all our alfresco licences that I'm aware of around our area in our ward are afforded directly in front of the front yard boundary of the premises or shop, the restaurant or cafe, in line with that. So this establishment is utilising quite a large area outside and tripling, in fact, on Monday, quadrupling the number of people they were servicing across from the shop to the picnic table areas. The frontage of the shop, I believe, is 4.2 metres wide. It does state on here 5 metres, it's 4.2 metres. So in actual fact, it's not shown on the plan. In actual fact, the usable alfresco area that we have all the other businesses using, is that would actually be within that front yard boundary of 4.2 metres. So I think that's one thing to point out, which is not shown, the measurements aren't shown on the plan. The second thing is the overhangs of feet down the service lane is not included in the leased area. So that would require, if it was, they could have their 5 small cafe style tables, or actually that would probably only fit about 3 in front. They could have those actually out there as of right. Some of our establishments do have, just around the same area, do have in their leased area the feet or the overhang of the veranda is included. So they don't require a physical license in that space. So what they're now asking for, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, is to have cafe tables along the front of their business and either side of the other business, and also right down the exterior of the service lane. I think that about covers it. Looking at the distances, and clearly I haven't been down here with a tape measure, they would probably only fit 2 of the 1,800 tables on the exterior or sort of side of the service lane, perhaps with a cafe table in between, but that doesn't actually leave any manoeuvrability for accessibility, excuse me, or to get round the tables to be seated. And then in front of the cafe, they could possibly put 2 or 3 of the small cafe-style tables. So the other thing I would like to raise, which was highlighted when I did my visit on Monday, was the fact that there's a very large mobile, it's called a Serve Light coffee. It's a mobile coffee cart with a bicycle attached that they use to serve from their coffee window. It's a mobile coffee cart. I do have a picture of it here on Facebook. That was actually parked. And come closer and I can pass it around. That was actually parked in the service lane in front of the neighbouring business with a big cover over it at the time. I know it's not here in the application, and nor are the umbrellas that are on the tables outside, which I think need to be acknowledged as a health and safety issue. So there's a lot of clutter and a number of issues to be addressed. A mobile coffee cart may operate as a separate business off the property, but it appears to be stored in the shop and put out in the service lane, and it might have a mobile purpose license. So I think that pretty well covers all of my observations, but it certainly is a very disproportionate area of use compared to other premises operating under a Fresco licences. And it is of a concern to me that they may not have the right set of precedents if we look at this. We will be addressing the whole town, as I'm sure we will every village in town when we come to do our open spaces policy. When the strategy comes into place and we look at our towns and then do our terminology there, our open spaces. Spatial planning, spatial planning. So just any comments and feedback on that? I think I covered pretty well everything that I spotted on my site visit. Thanks, Kim.
Raises, I'm familiar with this particular building for obvious reasons. The delivery for all of those restaurants that are there is that back alley and the parking lot behind the sorting club. So if you restrict this entrance for me, which is public space, it's ratepayer space, we're basically giving it over to a commercial operation. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up disability access, being that I'm on the DAG committee. And I wonder if there is still disability access for a wheelchair or something down that alley. Sorry, Ken.
So, Madam Chair, just joined our keys was going to respond.
Yeah, through the chair, I think the chair's comments with regards to the actuality of the appearance is accurate. That is how it exists. People currently navigate that space, but it is tight. I've not had any specific complaints about it, but at the end of the day, it's a very cluttered space, and obviously I'm keen to take your comments with regards to community sentiment about that. The road use bylaw doesn't specify that tables and chairs have to be outside the frontage of the shop, but I'm not aware of any other premises that extend in the way that this particular premises extends.
It's Ken. Okay, Jane, next.
I'm just trying to understand this turning lane. So you come in from this area here, Selwyn Road. So under normal circumstances or prior to the cafe being there, would vehicles have exited down the service lane? No. So that service lane is not really used by vehicles other than to service the front risk. You've got
service to the two restaurants on both sides of that.
And a vehicle is parked beside the building, beside the physiotherapist's turning area.
Yeah.
No, down the actual service. It's a T service lane. It's just that it's not open to traffic. Only 1/3 of it switches from Selwyn Road through to the back of the apartment block, which is here. Yeah, so the apartments access underground. They go right and go underground. Straight through is actually where the vehicles parked to service the restaurants in that whole area, and trucks too.
So this service lane doesn't actually get used.
It's not open to traffic, nor is the one to the right. It used to be.
Yeah.
We closed it to traffic.
So this is closed to traffic?
Yes.
So in fact, it's not a functioning service lane? No, I'm just, it's
two of them are closed off to the distance.
Right. So the second issue though is the Gordon's wanted serve outside their restaurants.
They have told me that they intend to apply
Yeah,
for this on license, and they have quite a considerable area which borders this cafe that we're building from there right through to the state highway.
So in the interest of fairness, they would probably be allowed to over-exceed their space.
Well, they can't, because currently this business is in their space. So once they apply, they will be looking to use the area in front of the premises.
The historical problem is that you can't stop a truck off the main road.
Yeah.
You just, so it's always anything that operates on that mile. You've got to have all these other service ways in behind.
Through the chair, I just think it's the precedent that this could potentially set right. And what other places are going to turn around and be like, well, if they can do that, I want to be able to do this. And who knows what that will open us up to.
Yep. First, I just want to read you some things to the Land Transport Committee. In terms of total mobility, there was no reference to the original Land Transport Plan to wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs or recreational devices such as scooters. Footpaths in terms of total mobility need to reflect the changing use of this shared space and the potential for conflict. By way of example, mobility scooters can now weigh as much as 226 kilograms. They can be 1.6 metres long, 720 millimetres wide, 1280 millimetres wide. Under the Land Transport Road User Rule 2004, there is no speed limit for scooters. However, drivers must ride on footpaths where practicable. Modern machines are capable of reaching speeds of 40 kilometres an hour in a shared space with disabled users, children, mothers with prams, etc. There is a case to be made where we have high total mobility requirements for more investment in shared spaces, including width and at-grade considerations. The plan is littered with statistics about accidents that are now happening in shared public spaces. We missed an opportunity here. I'm very concerned that as the community ages and we have a high ageing population in Waiea, that we're going to see an increase in mobility devices in shared public spaces. I don't know that that's necessarily been considered, other than there's a requirement to have a 1.5 metre wide fairway at a time. And we know from experience that that is not being enforced. Second thing that I'd like to talk about is emergency service access. And I don't see anywhere in the application where it's a consideration that we need to talk to people like Fire and Emergency New Zealand and St John's and what risk that might place on buildings and livelihoods and people if emergency service access is restricted by blocking service routes. The third matter that I wish to raise is armour guard, and this is for Ken specifically. I observed the armour guard vehicle in Kerikeri parked on the footpath and completely obstructs the footpath outside the wetback, including the pedestrian crossing point. When I get this through to council as an RP, the reply was, because of the risk for property, armour guard vehicles are exempt and are allowed to park on the footpath. That as a future work stream for the community board, because I don't think that's acceptable. Parking there up to 20 minutes, completely obstructing the footpath, and I have watched people with disabilities unable to navigate. But the third matter is our fresco dining licenses actually add to the character and ambience of the town. So they should be encouraged where it is safe and practicable to do so. I'm not convinced in the way that this presentation before us today that it is safe and practicable. Our fresco dining licenses be encouraged. I have not undertaken my ever work. I have been there with you historically, but I wasn't looking at it with that lens on at the time. So I'm struggling with that. But I just raised it because I think there's more to this conversation as mode should. And it's necessarily be considered by the business owner who just wants to maximise the and what our role is and what liabilities may sit on us in the future if we allow the public space to become
Commercial.
I leave it at
Some really valid points there, Lee, and I do have to point out that this establishment rates highly in all reviews. It's a unique little cafe. It's extremely popular for events, and some of the great reviews visitors love to frequent it. And their day may have come that they actually are very so successful that they need a larger premises, dare I say. But yeah, really interesting discussion because although the service lane is used to service the businesses, it's not open through to traffic, only one end of it is for turning. And that in itself, when you've got the van, I actually took a picture of the van that had the doors, the neighbouring business had the doors wide open for over an hour, and it was parked when I left. Because even though I arrived at the cafe and it was still parking when I left. So that actually really narrowed down the access round to the cafe from within the north side. So although we haven't stopped the service lane, both 2 out of 3 of those are closed to further pedestrianise that area. And the flow could be improved. It's definitely something we need to look at, and I need to acknowledge in our spatial planning that we need to. Good points raised, Nancy. Any other points?
We've given you enough. Does Rochelle want to comment? It's a little tricky, I find, with the new application, the new policy, for alfresco dining approval. It doesn't state the actual, it just says approved 5 tables and chairs. It doesn't actually state the sizes. I noticed they put the size of the, what we call picnic tables, those wooden picnic tables. These are really big and really heavy. You could probably sit at least 3 people either side. And I know we did some in Kitty recently outside, down near the sushi place. And they are allowed to stay. I assume they'll be requesting those stay in situ because of the weight and size of them. But the little cafe tables and chairs could be removed under the policy by 10 in the evening each night, but they actually don't open till 10 at this stage. So.
Madam Chair, do we know if they remove the picnic tables at night and while they lift?
The big ones stay because they're so big and heavy. They take the risk of.
Because the diagram is misleading because for each of those narrow little brown boxes, there's 2 extra sides which are the seats. So they're about 3 times the size of what it's shown on the diagram. And I mean, some, like the Duke, for example, is required to share that.
Chair, that was always a requirement of the fresco license.
Yeah.
That you had to be able to pick up tables and chairs, take them off the side of the front.
But it says the designated area and facilities provided must be cleaned and made others. Other ones I've seen, they have to take required to move all items used for alfresco dining by 10 p.m. each day.
So that would be part of their request that they stay. And I have discussed this with Ken. It would be unreasonable for us to request them to remove the heavy tables, and we have granted other licences that they remain in place. We're not in use for after hours, so I don't see that so much of an issue. I think it's the fact that it just stays in here. I guess what historically is coming up here for Rochelle and Ken is that we repeatedly ask for scaled information, and there is no scale. We even had a huge discussion over having a little place in Cairo, which is the only of this place, with a few little tables outside the little restaurant takeaway there. And it was really all to do with the fact that if we had a scale that showing the front yard, not showing the actual premises and the distance of the front yard, the boundary of the premises, and the size of the table and chairs, because when the tables and chairs are actually in, the people are sitting in them, they take up way space, and the legs are actually in that 1.5 metre minimum. When they're just sitting there when they're vacant, they're compliant. So I think these health and safety issues that Anne's raised are really valid, but to get scaled information, it's really vital in our decision making, so we don't have these lengthy conversations. So we can say, there's your shop frontage, we're happy for you to have them there and there, we're providing that minimum width. Do you own the lease under the overhang? You've got the right to use that, and you're including those. Or perhaps it's just not ignorance on behalf of the applicant, but they're not aware of these policies, new applicants, what we're actually asking for. So, I have to acknowledge them for coming forward and applying after years of operation without a licence. And, let's hope we can find a bit of a one-on-one situation for them until such time as we address our spatial planning.
Madam Chair, moving forward though, would it be an idea to sort of say to any applicants for al fresco dining that the furniture that you use should be portable, so that we discourage them to big picnic tables out there, because that seems to be part of the problem. In Kororaraka on the waterfront, we have got a picnic table explosion. I mean, it's just, there's 6 of them, and they're all heavy, and you can't love them. And,
yeah, so the problems that we think that they wouldn't have anywhere to take them at night, putting them inside the premises each night.
Madam Chair, that used to be the rule, that you had to pick them up and you had to store them on your leased commercial property. Yeah. So you took them off what is public property, ratepayers' property. And al fresco dining is what you had was a right to put your tables out on the property and then take them back. If we change that policy, then that's fine. But we change it to if that's what we're going to do.
Well, the policy says it's meant to be removed. Sorry, and I think that might be a red herring. And I say that with respect, because if there's problems there with the tables during the day, when there's a lot of people, the problem is less at night because there's no. So we've got to look at what the problems are at peak time, and they can be satisfactorily addressed the needs of the whole community at peak times. And if you can't get a fire engine or an ambulance stretcher or a person on a mobility scooter, that problem, I think, is immaterial when the table is there at 1 a.m. It's not being careful about it.
Through the chair, I was suggesting that
my colleague accused me of doing red herring. The whole point of tables, chairs that can be moved is that they can be moved when the person collapses and you need to move the stretcher or whatever else. They can be moved out of the way. It is a temporary situation that exists. It's the permanence that becomes the problem with large tables. My own personal opinion, Madam Chair, as I've voiced a number of times, is that we are using public space, commercial opportunity, and I fully accept my colleague's comments that al fresco dining adds to the ambience of a town. That's all wonderful, but it should be done on a reasonable commercial basis as well, because otherwise we disadvantage those people that are renting restaurant space or hospitality space on either side, and we are giving away space to someone to compete with them, and that's just not fair.
I'm just going to point out what Lane had said, is that my point was not that the picnic tables at night time It's the fact that they can't be removed and they're big and bulky and you're stuck with them throughout the day and night. And so if you think about a collapsible table, like these garden furniture, you could move it if it's a wheelchair or whatever.
Just my casual observation when I see elsewhere is that they get creep. And all this lot of enforcement, they're pushing up further. Every single day, I shouldn't say this, but I've spent more on Ghana, I am pushing sandwich boards off the footpath because I'm mindful that the person coming behind me on a mobility scooter can't get through. And I don't think people do it deliberately. I think they do it out of ignorance because if you're able-bodied and you've never been on a mobility scooter or family that's on a mobility, we don't think about people on the footpath or every member of the community. And so the chairs, and we've all been folks who we've seen it, it's particularly difficult to navigate past rock salt someday because they just bring out portable tables for chairs and they're just absolutely viable.
You don't have to go much further than outside the other building. Sushi place. The farms that grew and grew and grew. So
We're digressing now.
Yes, sorry.
Michelle's heard us go down this rabbit hole about this so thoroughly over the years.
I think we had a really good look at this, but I think there's a workshop to be had with Ken.
Yes.
By this board and the other two boards.
Needed.
Yeah, to say, this is great, but we're thinking, it could do with some work.
So you've heard us, we love the ambience, we love the vibrancy.
We love the coffee.
We acknowledge the 93 cruise ships with aging disabled people coming into play. I think we've been, around the block with this. But at the moment, my main concern is the fact that this would be the only al fresco licence I can think of that we would be actually approving outside the front yard boundary of the premises. And all the other points, I think, I agree, it's worthy of a bit of a workshop to get our al fresco dining approval, to make it easy for the applicant and make our decision making easier as well. And your jobs, he's got the unfortunate job of, approving and having to enforce and monitor these situations. So I'll close it there and Ken.
We still need to move. There was another one, yeah.
That's that one. Ken's got his hand up.
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, that obviously the points that have been made, particularly with regards to health and safety, very much resonate. It's definitely something that I need to look at and need to address. And it's just an observation that from my time at Thames, the outdoor dining and display bylaw that they have there permits a portion of space as opposed to tables, and that's something that might be worthwhile considering in the future.
Yeah, you can write that. Okay, so we've thrashed that one out, and the second one, which is a classic example of somebody who didn't realise they needed to have an al fresco dining licence. A lovely little plan which shows us exactly where the tables and chairs are, exactly under the and I have checked it out, and it is compliant at this point. It doesn't give the size of the tables, and that's something that I think would be helpful to have in there, but they are little cafe style tables. So that is the play here. Local Espresso, which is down near Full Square in Williams Road. So no comment on that other than to say very helpful little map with measurements. Yes.
Yes, Madam Chair, that summary is completely accurate.
Right, so with that, we'll leave that for you to digest, and we'll put these two recommendations Numerous comments, moved by Lane, seconded by Jane. All those in support? Against?
Jane.
And also abstaining. It's carried. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Ken and Michelle.
Thank you for your.
Point 3, project funding reports on page 42. At the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board note the project reports received from our Kitty Chess, Northern Community Family Services, Turner Centre for Kanikani Kanoa, Turner Centre for Trouble in Paradise. Do I have a meeting?
Yes.
Bruce, thank you. Amy, thank you. Any discussion around these?
Just had lots of acknowledgements for us, which is nice.
Yes, the Northern Community Family Services said they had no marketing funding to acknowledge the community board. So we have received our logo, I guess. Okay. Yes, there will be one.
Yeah, everyone does when they send in their purchase order number.
They get the label.
Chair, I think that amount was just swallowed into the operating costs rather than specific.
Further discussion, I put that move for a seconded Amy. All those in support? Against? Give it an hour and a half. Would you like to have a 10-minute comment? We can just pause our live stream for 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hello, Will. Can we just have confirmation that live stream is paused, please? Thank you. Community budget concerns from I think a few
Welcome back, everybody. We move on to item 7.4, our funding applications, and I'll take these individually. First one, at the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board, approve the sum of $950 plus GST if applicable, be paid from the board's community fund account to Arts XL for the costs of the 100 by 100 Art Exhibition 2024. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Jane, to get this on the table. Seconder? Bruce, thank you. Jane, as mover, would you like to speak to this first?
Yes, I thought this was quite a nice exhibition because in terms of the inclusivity of it all, to encourage a whole range of artists to contribute. And then, of course, you had the audience that can come and see it in the Turner Centre for free, which was also good. So it seemed to be quite a broad community event or exhibition. And, you know, they haven't I'd ever asked for funding from us before. So, yeah, I thought this was quite nice. Quite a nice thing to be doing.
Jane, you see this?
Inclusive.
Yeah.
They ran it last year. Pretty cool. Yeah.
I just like the fact that they're inviting all of these artists from all around the place. It's 100, so it's kind of a neat idea.
So I did note in your report, Tyler, that the young elected members I did make a point of noting that they stress the importance of arts and culture sector for the wellbeing, which is something that we didn't discuss, but I thought it's a really interesting point that the arts were.
So there was a panelist who spoke at that hui about some I can't recall exactly what the evidence was, but it was like some real empirical evidence to suggest that communities that focus on arts and culture have better like mental health and wellbeing sort of outcomes. I guess as a result. Yeah. You were there, Kim. and I guess like maybe there's greater benefits that we aren't completely aware of as a result of, I guess, investment in arts and culture.
Madam Chair, I had a question, and I probably should have raised it before. I noticed on there the tagged funds, they have $20,000 set aside for commission to the Turner Centre. And I was wondering if anyone could invite me.
So what happens is in any art gallery, when a piece of art is sold,
yes,
they have to pay commission to the gallery, and so that will come from that. So what that actually comes out of the art pieces when they sell, they've got that as an estimated amount. The other thing too is Arts XL is an umbrella for this application. Joan Honeyfield came to me and she said, would I be better to make this application as an individual or for an organisation? So that 20,000 that Arts XL has is not necessarily related to this exhibition. They do other.
So it's their commissions that they'll be paying. They've gone, we need to pay this money, so we need to keep it aside.
Yeah.
I have no further discussion around that. Moved by Jane, seconded by Bruce, and $150 and put to the vote. All those in support? Against?
Abstain.
And abstain? That's carried. Right, moving on to our next one, that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approve the sum of $5,000 plus GST if applicable, paid from the board's community fund account to Glass Ceiling Collective for the costs of the Spark live show in the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa ward. I have a mover. Jane, seconder. Tyler, thank you. Discussion around this?
Certainly. We're all aware that this has come in various forms to us. I am probably the least likely person. I have no daughters, and I am old, and I'm
Wrong one. This is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm working my way down. Sorry. I apologise to the community.
Jumped ahead.
I did.
Yeah.
As mover of this one, you're welcome.
I'm a member of the DAG committee. Trust me, I have a blurb on this one as well. As a member of the DAG committee, which I've had the great honour of being on for the last 2 terms, I was a little concerned that their ability to notify the local community. But other than that, I just think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm 100% behind it. I did.
I just reiterate what Lane said. I think we don't do a heck of a lot for the sector, and I think this is the fact that it's sort of multi-sensory. I think it's quite a cool way to reach members of the disabled community. So that's awesome.
I was slightly concerned about how we're going to get our whānau into it and transport, but that's not our problem. But, you know, it would be very cool if they could come up with some mechanism to get it far and wide in the district, actually, rather than just, yeah. I love the idea they'll be using vegetables and stuff and to, you know, sensory different ways. It look really cool.
Through the chair, it's coming up to Kaitaia as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And to
And to Kaipoi Hokianga as well.
Oh, cool.
So all 3 wards, they've got applications to all 3 wards for this.
choice.
Okay, so no further discussion around that. Moved by Lane, seconded by Tyler. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Against, abstaining? Moving on to our third application, that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approve the sum of $3,000 plus GST if applicable be paid from the board's community fund account to Kitted New Zealand for the cost of the female sport art exhibition. Do I have a mover?
Oh, of course.
And a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thanks, James. Lane?
What I said before.
No, you've got to stop.
What I was going to say to you is that I am the most unlikely person sitting around this table to probably support this kind of activity. But it was brought to me in my capacity with the Domain, and they're looking for a space. So I spent some time doing a bit of research, talking to a few people, and they've got a point. They've got a point for young girls. I think that's the result of my talking to people and all the rest of it. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm still working on some space for on the Domain, but I think this is a first step. Managing.
And Jane is.
Yes, I was a little sceptical, particularly the first time round when they came in. So I'm really pleased to see that they've chunked it down into something more manageable. And I was pleased that they've actually thought through how they're going to measure what they're doing to try and make sure they get some tangible outcomes. And the fact that she's using some of that work to support, a study of paper, I think is good. So this scaled down application, I'm much happier to support. I'm happy to.
Any further comments, for or against?
Madam Chair, if I can just add for the record, I don't normally support things that are selective either by sex or race or anything else. It just goes against my grain. But in this case, I do think that there is a need for this group to be represented.
Equally, this is equality.
Basically 50%. So
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Yeah, much better in the second form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes it's good when people come back and present again in a bit more detail. Give us a bit more confidence as to what they're doing. And yes, and we do know Claire's proven background. That's it, no more discussion. Back to the vote. Move Lane, seconded Jane. $3,000. All those in support? Against? And abstain. Thank you.
And the final application we have here is that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board. So that was moved, Lane, seconded, Jane, and abstained. Now we move on to our final one because the Tuna Centre withdrew theirs. That the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board approved a sum of $5,000 plus GST if applicable and paid from the board's community fund towards account to Tui Tangata for the costs of the Te Hautu, Manawa, Māori, Wainangas. Do I have a mover? It's on the table. Thank you, Bruce. Seconder. Tyler, thank you. Discussion, Anne.
Madam Chair, with my intention not to participate in any of these because I think the board's got it, but I'm a little bit surprised that we've moved $5,000 when she said that the funding application Creative New Zealand was approved and she's only 2.7 short.
Yes, Chair, this was made before she had that decision, so yeah.
I accept that, but it's been moved at 5. Seconded at 5. I would have been more comfortable if it moved to 2.7 and seconded at 2.7. I think someone might need to move an amendment.
Now trying.
Yeah, sorry, Ian.
Yes, you're foreshadowing an amendment.
So you wouldn't move it to get it on the table and then foreshadow an amendment? That wouldn't be how that would normally work.
You can.
You can do any amount in there that you like. That's just the staff recommendation.
You can move it and vote against it.
Right.
And we have to vote on the original. Yes, if we have seconded Tyler.
But we can foreshadow an amendment before this.
Yes. So Amy is foreshadowing. I was just trying to find the amount. I did write 7.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
What they got from short. Yeah. How much was it? They were 2,700. She just said they were short 2,700.
Because the things exist.
Sure, I wrote it.
Yeah, it was.
Amy's foreshadowing an amendment to
2,700 just to adjust for the funding they've received. That's there.
Do we have a second for that amendment?
Yep.
Jane? Discussion around Amy?
Well, it was just because she said they've got the funding from elsewhere. So if we make sure that they're meeting their requirements and it's still going to go ahead and be successful. So I think that's what we want. Yeah.
Yes, I was slightly confused in that it's going out to 3 locations, and I'm just not sure how these costs are presented, whether this is just the Kaio one or whether it's, I think it'd be easy to kind of see the whole lot, so it's hard to comment, isn't it? Like the funding that's been granted, was that for the whole lot? It's a shortfall of 2,700 just for the Kaio one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have called to ask her for clarity on that one and have a response yet.
Yeah.
She said she was coming to a workshop.
Yeah, you want it.
Right, there's no further discussion around that. I'm going to put the amendment. Bruce?
No, I was going to comment in general. I mean, it's going to be held on in Hawaii, and I'm wondering why they can't waiver the $1,400 origin of that. Well, I presume it's the same fee, because I really support the whole concept of it. I mean, it's intriguing. But I was also disappointed that they're just targeting Maori people rather than general right throughout the whole whole population. There must be just as many, other people, nationalities who would love to partake in this. We're all one people in one country, and I think it's a marvellous thing. But disappointed that they were prioritising just the Maori population.
Through the chair, I mean, she did go like the first priority is the people from that marae, which is absolutely reasonable. And then there were certain groups that were already doing stuff, and then it would be community. So I think it would be open to the whole community. And I was reassured that there were 100 places that made it a lot more, sort of broad.
She did say the priority audience was for the 100 people. Is it associated with that marae, or that would take it out? So I hear you both. I hear your sentiments, Bruce. I mean, we all live in the same environment, flora and fauna, and I think it would be amazing to take it to the people. Perhaps it will actually. We can only hope that it will flow out from there. They are partnering with a number of other organisations. I picked up.
Healthy families there.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of lessons for everyone to be learned. It would be amazing. We were talking in the break how this chef is extremely, Lewis knows of some of his background, he's extremely talented and he's worked in the best of the best places. So I'm sure we could show we haven't all got that opportunity, but hopefully this taster around the district will mean that it's opened up to perhaps a wider audience of the general public. It is more than.
I do wonder about that. I don't have much confidence of going out on the people who are there. So it's intriguing, and I think it's marvellous thing that they're promoting. So I'd like to see that wider. So I'm saying I'm sort of a wee bit picky about community more with my house myself.
So Amy's amendment is suggesting 2,700, so nearly half of the amount to make up the shortfall of what they didn't receive through the other applications. Any further discussion? I'm going to put the amendment. Moved by Amy, seconded by Jane, $2,700. Those in support? Against?
Abstains.
And Anne's abstaining, so that amendment is carried. I'll put that as the substantive motion. Amy, happy to read that as substantive. Jane, thank you. All those in support? Against? You're abstaining, Ray. Did you abstain from this? What? From the amendment, did you abstain from? Sorry, Anne abstained from the amendment. Did you abstain from the amendment? The substantive motion. Okay, thank you. That ends our round of funding applications. So we'll now move on to item 8.1, summary of applications on page 100. I'd like to thank Catherine for this. I always love these little graphs of where we're at and what we're funding. So thank you, Catherine.
Text a little bigger.
You need my magnifying.
There's this thing called LASIK and cataract operations like that. My mum just had it. It's amazing.
I'm at both eyes, and I'm still struggling.
You're talking to someone wearing glasses, so yeah.
Right, so I'll put this recommendation at the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board note the report summary of applications July to December 2023. Do I have a mover?
Yes.
Bruce, thank you. Seconder, Amy.
It's interesting.
Catherine's in the room if you want to hit her with any questions. I do love a pie graph.
Yeah. We used to get all the time, didn't we?
Just sounding like a
Teacher didn't like paragraphs.
The pre-season applications are really interesting. I just wanted to note that, that obviously because correct me if I'm wrong here, is it the October boost due to the lead into summer events? Yeah.
And events investment, the ones that failed at the events investment.
They've all come through.
Automatically almost, yeah.
July, was that more around that new?
A little bit. We just had a huge influx that first
Maybe.
meeting. That first meeting in July, I think we had over a dozen applications, which was just like,
That's right.
It's almost a sign that everyone's waiting for our new round of funding, isn't it?
Let's hope we get some next year.
So that they can get a boost.
well, we're putting some stuff together for combined community board workshop.
Yes.
And for all the 3 community boards last year, there were 107 funding applications. In the first 6 months of this year, we're already at 118.
Shortful of money out there, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's also,
And we've been given foreshadowing by some of the big funders that a lot of their funding is going to be cut by about half in the new financial year.
So that's the events investment fund is finishing in June, is it?
There is one more round of that, yeah, and it's going to be about 180,000.
It's going to be hotly contested.
So we're talking about the NDC one or the opening one?
Regional events fund is going to be about 180. I don't know if North District Council will have an events fund next year. I still have not been, that I will know in June when the annual plan is adopted, because I've been told lots of things are on the table to be cut, but I'm not told what has been yet.
Lotteries have cut their grants, haven't they?
46%.
Wow.
They've
That's
gone
going
from
to make
34 down to 17 million this year.
it's going to affect a lot of people.
Do you have anything on, because we've got obviously Kitty is pretty heavy on bottling the grants.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the stats on how many applicants applied from each ward? Or each?
I didn't do that breakdown. I can do that in the next
It
one.
would be interesting, then it might show if we're favouring or if it's actually just because a lot more people are applying from here. And they've-
Well, we know that the Turner Centre puts in one every other month for something, so.
Yeah, at least.
I didn't do
But
the
then we're
breakdown
the
by
prime
amount.
place
by
in the
region.
region.
Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm just observing. I'm not making any judgments on it. I'm just observing.
And it is anticipated in applying.
Yeah.
So it shows where we have had less applications for infrastructure, which has gone against what I was saying earlier in our pre-meeting there. We have been in supporting more infrastructure grants, but this actually shows here that we haven't been granting in that direction, which is interesting.
Through the chair, not to in any way contradict other people's observations about the arts. But I think also when we do infrastructure things like playgrounds or whatever else, there is a very beneficial impact to the community. So we should not do that. If I could sort of come back on the side that I think the community reacts when we do things, physical things in the community. They don't have to be large. They can be a garbage can at the Russell Walk, whatever else.
Didn't fund us.
An operational cost.
It does. But the point I'm trying to make badly
I'd like to live in another playground.
is
It's the ongoing cost of those that then become the scary part.
absolutely. That's it. Anyway, I'm sure we'll deal effectively with the coming year.
Right, no more discussion or questions for Catherine around that. Then I'll put that for the vote. Move for a second to Amy. Those in support? Against? Carried. And finally, we move on to our Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board February Open Resolution report that the Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board received The Bay of Islands-Whangaroa Community Board February open resolution report. I will move. Do I have a second? Thank you, Bruce. Go down these one by one. The off-leash part's going nowhere at the moment, Tyler, but we'll leave it on there. Chairperson members report.
So when you move your chairperson and members report, because it comes through as a action report, it reacts an action. However, it's not actually an action that needs action.
No, it's an inaction report.
Deleted.
So you can take the inaction off the action report.
Yeah. Well, we acted on it. We noticed it.
Yeah.
So you'll note that Robin Wilson is moving on with the community over the Simpson Park Management Plan.
Yep.
She'll be meeting sometime over the next month, having some consultation.
Posters that were put out. Yeah.
In Victoria Park House.
Gosh.
We've got fire equipment now.
Tell me they didn't put the extension next to the kiln.
We're all chuckling over the time frame it's taken to get some action on this. Unfortunately, with staff coming and going and change in elections, and there's been a lot happening. However, it doesn't remove council's duty of care and reliability for the asset, and I'm just pleased to see that there's finally a fire extinguisher.
So I went down there.
And we don't know whereabouts.
Michelle.
Michelle. Please, somebody went down there and checked where it was.
We don't know where the downstairs it is, but it says it's in the downstairs, and I know member Bear's comments.
Just Yeah, just to give credit where credit's due, I don't think it's so much that Michelle went down there and checked, it's that Cherry Park House was made aware that actually the purchase of fire equipment is their responsibility, and now that they were aware of that, they took proactive action and went out and purchased the adequate equipment. So credit goes to Cherry Park House, not the houses.
And they look like they've obviously got an agreement in place with Fire Co to maintain all of that.
Have a slight degree of comfort in that.
Slight.
Can breathe. Right. I move that, seconded by Bruce. To the vote. That brings us to the close of our formal business for today. And thank you for those who have joined us online. And I'd like to thank staff and my team for hopefully the improved audio and visual of our delivery of our meetings to you out there. So thank you for joining us. And I'll ask Jane, would you like to close?
Me no e tātou. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, ko te atapai o tau tātou are I ihu krati, i te aroha o te atapa, me na pipina tāhitanga, me te wairua tātou. Ake.
Thank you very much. Thanks, John.
Oh, well, can you please confirm the live stream